asunder, screams in the darkness, echoes like thunder. Every word you say tears us asunder. Your voice is a weapon, fires like a gun, explodes in the silence, nowhere to run. Your voice is a weapon, fires like a gun, explodes in the silence, nowhere to run. Come along, join the fun, in a world where adventure is never done. Every corner we turn, a new friend in tow. It's time to start the magic on the Globest Show. It's time to learn and grow on the Globest Show. See the sights, so much to know. Across the lands, together we go. Hand in hand, we join the flow. Discover wonders in the Globus Show, where every day's a brand new episode. On the Globus Show, it's time to learn and grow on the Globus Show. Come along, join the fun, in a world where adventure is never done. Every corner we turn, a new friend in tow. It's time to start the magic on the Globus Show. It's time to learn and grow on the Globus Show. See the sights, so much to know. Across the lands, together we go. Hand in hand, we join the flow. Discover wonders in the Globus Show, where every day's a brand new episode. On the Globus Show, it's time to learn and grow on the Globus Show.
What up, 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 Larry? What up, Barkeeter J? What up, Hydran? What up, Twitch? What up, bots? What up, lurkers? What up, tiny people in my chatter Reno? What up? It's your boy. All right. Sorry for the delay in getting started. I had some things that I needed to take care of, and I got here as soon as I could. Um, y'all. All right. Might as well get right into it. Brains and sensors. I hope you're having fun. Apparently Zuckerberg bought Ray Bans. I'm hearing this for the first time, and now so are you.
It seems like Mr. Zuckerberg is done playing around. Here's the latest. He just bought Ray-Bans. If you haven't been following along, Mark Zuckerberg, aka Meta, is buying up everything in an attempt to build their sort of AI division. And they're not messing around with AGI, whatever. They're going straight to superintelligence. So, the big thing that we've heard about recently is the 49% non voting stake in Scale AI. That ran for about $15 billion. Scale AI does a lot of data labeling for training AI models, apparently some synthetic data pipelines. They also have Alexander Wang and some other key engineers that are joining Meta to work on the superintelligence division. They attempted to buy Ilya Sutskever's Safe Superintelligence. That bid was rejected, but as you can see, they poached quite a few key figures. Looks like they attempted to buy Furiosa AI. The 800 million cash offer was rejected. But as Mark and Meta are building out their superintelligence labs, that's the new sort of subdivision that they're running inside of Meta. So again, they got Alexander Wang and Nat Friedman, who was the co-founder and former GitHub CEO, Daniel Gross, who was the CEO of Safe Superintelligence, again, Ilya's company. By the way, this was Ilya's response to all this stuff that happened. So he's saying, I sent the following message to our team and investors. As you know, Daniel Gross's time with us has been winding down, and as of June 29th, he's officially no longer a part of SSI. Ilya is now formally taking the role of CEO of the company, and Daniel Levy is the president. And he's saying that he will likely not be looking to get acquired. They have the compute, they have the team, and they know what to do. Together, we will keep building safe superintelligence. Ilya. As I mentioned before, you can kind of infer from this that they know what they're doing. They have something. They're pretty convinced they have something. Sometimes people say that this is all AI hype to raise money. Well, when somebody gives you 30 billion for your company and all you have is hype and wild expectations, you tend to take the 30 billion. Most reasonable people would, especially if that means going into a company like Meta with all their resources and talent and being on that team. Rejecting that offer kind of seems to imply that Ilya believes that they have something big and it's something that they can get to, something that they can achieve. Apparently, Mark Zuckerberg also got Roming Pang, the head of foundation models of Apple, Jack Ray, formerly Google DeepMind, Pei Sun from DeepMind / Waymo, Joel Pobar, Anthropic infra lead, Johan Sklakovic, a Google fellow, Trapid Bansal, OpenAI. These people from OpenAI and many, many other key researchers at OpenAI, including from the RLHF team, Vision Language Fusion, Post Training Alignment, Retrieval Augmented Generation, Operator Agents, a safety lead from Anthropic, Anton Bachtin. Interestingly, they did not manage to get anyone from XAI. I wonder why that is. Let me know in the comments if you know why they did not get anyone from XAI. Because again, we have SSI, right? Ilya's company. We have GitHub, Apple, Google DeepMind, Waymo, Anthropic, tons of people from OpenAI. Scale AI got acquired. Not one from XAI as far as I know. And then finally, on top of this, he just is increasing his position, I mean, basically the company behind the Ray-Ban sunglasses. Meta Platforms bought a minority stake in the world's largest eyewear maker. So I guess the company, the holding company is called Essilor Luxottica SA. Looks like he currently owns around 3.
All right, 3%. That's not buying the company. Wes.
percent and potentially will build that up to 5%. So it sounds like they believe that the form factor that these AI sort of assistants and various AI tools will take, their final form, so to speak, will be glasses. Which, by the way, that's kind of a similar thing to what Google is doing with their Project Astra. We're going to start seeing a lot more eyewear coming out in the future. It's not going to be called Project Astra, they're changing the name, but it's going to be on the Android ecosystem, likely including vision, some sort of augmented reality. And it looks like Mark Zuckerberg is planning to be hot on their heels with Ray-Bans and the various AI things that these researchers that he just acquired or hired or poached, however you want to say that, all that new talent, they will help him build the infrastructure.
Yeah, I believe gargoyles are a type of sunglasses.
And everything else needed to power glasses and all the other AI tools. Meta Connect is coming in September 17th and 18th of this year, and it's likely that we're going to be seeing some first on-device demos of these AI assistants powered by Llama. Looks like that's going to be kind of the big theme of the event. AI plus glasses. But whatever the case, this is a excellent time to
What up, Miss Frizzle? Oh, excuse me. They are a convenient way to provide the AI with additional stuff, right? Normally, you would have to take your phone out and hold your phone up in order to do that. Having cameras on the device allows you to remain hands-free. You can also incorporate the the type of headphones that vibrate your friggin' skull in order to work. You can incorporate that in there. And then theoretically, you can get a screen up on bone conduction. Thank you, Larry. You can get a screen up on your heads up display. So that's why you might want this kind of form factor. By the same token, it's like I can't do that, right? Unless I am sending my Ray-Bans off to to get my prescription lenses put in or something else of that. Like I can't use this. Because outside of outside of this distance, I'm pretty decent, right? But inside of here, I need readers. So well, to an extent you're right in the idea that glasses, some sort of glasses with additional features have been around for decades, right? I remember I was 21, so about 30 years ago, when they had these glasses that would put like a 70-inch display in front of you, and they were like $700. So that kind of thing has been around for some time. It's just like there are some aspects of it that I see as a tremendous convenience. Well, you got to remember there's the Luddites who existed, and then the Luddites who were or like the story of the Luddites, right? The Luddites who existed were concerned about people losing their wages to the machine, right? Which they were correct about. The story of the Luddites is that they're anti-technology, which wasn't really, you know, the case.
To be an AI researcher. Tens of millions of dollars offered to come to work for a different company. Offers of tens of billions of dollars rejected because you're shooting for something higher. Absolutely kind of an incredible time to be alive. But let me know.
Were they not? No, they weren't anti-technology. They were anti-technology that was causing them to lose their jobs, right? And that's a different concern, right? Like, it is understandable for people to be concerned about losing their jobs, right? It's more of an issue of capitalism. Because if they had said, yeah, people are going to be losing their jobs, but they're not mutually exclusive. But you know, we're gonna contribute additional funds in order to make sure that people can eat and have places to live, there would have been less of an issue. There would be less of an issue today if we had gone that route. What up, Michael? Last time I went to the eye doctor, I was told I can see decently within 5 feet. Beyond that, my vision tanks. Yeah, so you're in the same boat, right? I can't use this. I need something that, like, could clip onto my glasses. That's what I would like to see. But we'll find out. A lot of critiques how tech is used as surveillance capitalism and pushing consumerism, which are fair critiques, right? We enjoy critiques around here. Like, that's like, my critiques of AI and everything else are anti-capitalist in nature. So
What you think. Does Meta have what it takes to get to the #1 spot? Let me know in the comments. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
okay, we're not gonna watch this. It's a half hour long. We're gonna watch this. News.
An imposter raising security questions at the highest levels of our government. The Washington Post exclusively reporting that a Marco Rubio imposter is using an AI voice to call high-level officials. The Post reports, quote, an imposter pretending to be the Secretary of State contacted 3 foreign ministers, a U.S. governor, and a member of Congress.
Y'all are just bad at security. I mean, like, the Luddites chose to destroy machines rather than fight against capitalism. No, the destruction of the machines was their fight against capitalism. Right? These machines were, like, sometimes off on the roads being transported from place to place, and then they destroyed them. There is an argument, right? Like, and I understand this argument, that the use of the thing permits its, existence, and thereby undermines your ability to do stuff. Oh, no, I'm with you. They weren't Marxist because Marx hadn't written his stuff yet. This is pre-Marxist. So, like that. What I'm saying is that it's a nuanced position more than might be otherwise perceived. I mean, Michael, that sounds like the same thing to me, right? It's like, I'm having a problem with my firewall, so I'll just turn off my firewall. Okay.
Sending them voice and text messages that mimic Rubio's voice and writing style using artificial intelligence-powered software. This is according to a senior U.S. official and a State Department cable obtained by the Washington Post. NBC News has not seen that cable. We have reached out to the State Department for comment. But when asked about the cable by the Washington Post, the State Department responded that it would, quote, carry out a thorough investigation and continue to implement safeguards to prevent this.
What up, old lobster? No, I feel you. Miss Frizzle. Like, you have to, like, it's the same thing. Like, when I talk to people, sometimes in chat, we get into, a passionate discussion. And, like, there is a power dynamic that exists. I can say whatever I want, and I can just keep fucking talking. And you can be responding to the thing that I said, and then I just keep talking, and I go talking about something else, and you're still responding to the last thing, and now you're also trying to, respond to the new thing, and so on and so forth. So, under those conditions, depending on who the person is, I'm more than happy to set up an opportunity to, have a chat, to offset that dynamic and let people speak their piece, kind of thing. It's not a good AI Rubio if it doesn't pause to drink water or sink into the couch. So yeah, there is also the possibility that this is full of shit, right? That the AI Rubio story is intended to be leveraged to execute some other piece of legislation or executive order. It's also possible that it's completely legitimate. Either one is plausible under this administration. See the signal chat, right?
This from happening in the future. And joining us now is the reporter behind this story, Washington Post national security reporter John Hudson. John, crazy reporting. Talk to us about what you've learned, the timeline, and how they discovered this was happening.
Yeah, well, it is a really chilling window into the brave new world that we're living in right now. Essentially, this began in mid-June when a impersonator.
I mean, technically, Miss Frizzle, there was an event in like Maine in which somebody used an AI to mimic Joe Biden, to attempt to like disrupt elections. So that apparently happened. So like, this is the first time, as far as we're aware of communications between government entities, right? Which is a whole new level. No, exactly, Larry. That's where I'm about. It's illegal to do what they did. That should be sufficient. But but
Created a Signal account under marco.rubio@state.gov and began reaching out to high-level officials. Rubio began in mid-June when a impersonator created a Signal account.
I don't know. Maybe using Signal is a bad idea.
Under marco.rubio@state.gov and began reaching out to high-level officials. We're talking about a U.S. governor. We're talking about a U.S. member of Congress, 3 foreign ministers. And he or she began sending text and video and voice messages using AI-assisted software. So it would help mimic the secretary's voice. Sending voice messages, things that could easily convince someone that they were talking to the real Marco Rubio. What's so concerning about this, and this is included in the cable that was obtained by the Post, is that, there are foreign ministers, for instance, that Marco Rubio trusts and has to deal with on sensitive issues. And the concern is that those ministers could be thinking they're talking to the real Marco Rubio and incidentally share more sensitive information with.
Why would government officials and foreign government officials believe that Marco Rubio would communicate with them via Signal? There's a thing we used to have in this country called official channels, right? If a message did not get to you via official channels, then it probably wasn't a real message. Like, we used to be say what you want about what they did, but they at least used to fucking be a real country.
With someone that is obviously not trusted by the U.S. government, there's still no indication who this person is, but it is being investigated by the Bureau of Diplomatic Security at the State Department.
Again, you report that this person contacted at least 5 department officials, non-department individuals, I should say, including 3 foreign ministers.
I think maybe opposed to security at this point.
A U.S. governor, a U.S. member of Congress as well, through the messaging app Signal. Do we know the nature of these messages?
We don't know the nature of these messages. I have asked the State Department and the FBI to give a little bit more information. Who are the, who's the governor? Who are the members of Congress? And who are the, foreign ministers that were contacted? The FBI declined to comment. And so essentially, we're still trying to find out more information about who these people were and whether or not these individuals responded. The easy thing about what was conducted is a few things. One, it shows how readily accessible AI software is. All you need is about 15 seconds of audio from a public person, and then you can upload that into the software, and then really type.
Oh, so now we're going to do AI scary as opposed to talk about the security lapses in our federal government. Cool.
Whatever you want to say under the person's voice. So that's very easily accessible. What's a little bit more difficult to come by is the phone numbers for, a U.S. governor, a phone number for a member of Congress. But they.
And that's a little thing that's fuck, I had it. What's the thing when you you spoof people, you send them emails and you get them to send you social engineering. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Social engineering. So that's social engineering. Again, this is not old and it's not new. Or this is old, this is not new. People have been social engineering forever, right? Prior to the digital age, they did social engineering. The whole thing. Exactly, Larry. Which is why, I am caveating the entire subject until we get, I don't know. I like proof. I'm a proof guy. I like evidence. But we live in a post-evidence world now.
They were able to get that and then pull this off and send these messages. And that's what's so worrying, that what they respond.
Well, as far as we're aware of, Michael, right? It is possible that shenanigans were happening prior. I seem to recall that one of the claims against Hillary Clinton is that she and her staff communicated official stuff via non-official emails and all like that. And so we're going back at least that far to when she was working with Obama. Right. So as bad as the current administration is with operational security, this has been a building process, right? It sucks ass and we shouldn't be doing it.
To potentially could include sensitive information that the United States does not want to have for unknown actors.
I mean, you just talked about how this isn't a very sophisticated sort of thing. It doesn't take a tech guru to pull this off. And you also are reporting it's not the first time there have been impersonations targeting government officials in this administration. It's also, we know, not the first time the Signal app has been used. Is the Trump administration making changes?
Yes.
Again, I've told y'all I used to work debt collection. One of the things you do in debt collection is called skip tracing, attempting to locate the individual who has the debt and trying to collect on that debt. What up, Reed? And one of the things that you do is that if you are bound by law to not communicate the fact that you're attempting to collect the debt with anyone other than the individual in question or any authorized representative that that individual has given you. So when you call up their job, their mom, their sister, their friend, whatever number you can get your hand on, and you're like, oh shit, I was trying to reach Jimmy. Is he not at this number anymore? Well, you don't say shit, right? Is Jimmy not at this number anymore? You know how I can get in touch with him? It's damn, that kind of thing. That's social engineering, right? And then, people are predisposed to be helpful. So what happens is that Jimmy's mom is like, oh, yeah, no, he's at this number. And then you get that number and then you call that number. And Jimmy is oh so happy to hear from you.
So you're absolutely right that the Signal was, of course, the tool of choice that resulted in a pretty big Signalgate scandal, and where it was revealed that the Trump administration was using Signal for large gatherings of national security officials discussing very sensitive topics. Now that is one of the risks with when a U.S. official is reaching out to someone else via Signal. Everyone knows about that, so it is going to be in the mind of foreign and domestic officials that the Trump administration often uses Signal. That's why some of the experts that I spoke to really reiterated that it is so important to not use Signal for official government business, even though it's quite respected for its end-to-end encryption that it has. Exactly situations like this, you want to make sure that you're using the protocol that diplomats are told to use, which is U.S. government systems that are secure and protected.
John Hudson, thank you so much for sharing your reporting with us. We appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
Oh, that's not what I wanted.
As
No, I definitely
an
don't want to talk
imposter
to
raising
them.
security questions at the highest level.
Fuck, I want another episode of Joe Scarborough. So yeah, so that's what's going on. We're having some fun now. New AI Daily Brief: the 7 types of AI agents.
Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief. Today we are talking about one of the big themes, maybe the big theme in AI right now, which is of course agent transformation, agent adoption, the agentification of everything. Now, since almost the moment that ChatGPT came out, people have been excited about the possibility of this agentic era. Agents represent the idea of an AI that has greater capacity and can do more than just make you more productive, but in fact, fundamentally change the equation on the amount and type of work you can do or that your organization can accomplish as a whole. Still, what exactly we mean when we say agents can still be a little abstract and difficult. And so for this piece, we're building off of the inspiration of a recent piece that appeared in The Information called The 7 Kinds of AI Agents. We're going to look at both that, as well as a couple of other frameworks, to help you wrap your head around the different ways that you might think about.
The Information also went and got themselves an AI that you can use to an LLM to look through their reporting. So
categories of agents as a way to inform your personal or organizational agent strategy. Now, one quick note before we dive into these definitions: agents are officially and very much in the realm of the now. I shared these statistics before, but in the most recent KPMG Pulse survey, they found a massive increase in full enterprise agent deployments. The percentage of organizations that had at least some agents fully deployed, i.e., out of and past the pilot stage, tripled from 11% to 33% between Q1 and Q2. That followed a jump in pilots from 37 to 60.
I would say, Michael, it's what up, Sean? It's probably option 2. like a lot of people don't know how these magic boxes function, you know? So the idea that like you send a message and it goes through and it gets to them and like that. And then if you're a little more savvy, you're like, oh, it's got end-to-end encryption, which means no one can read my messages, allegedly. Cool, right? WhatsApp has alleged end-to-end encryption. It makes people feel very comfortable.
55% between Q4 and Q1. In net, 90% of the organizations that KPMG surveyed said that they were past AI agent experimentation and actively into either pilots or deployments, meaning that this is here and happening right now. So, before we get into a few different ways to break down subcategories of agents, let's talk about the broadest possible definition. If you've listened to me frequently, you'll know that
I don't type anything out onto the internet that I don't expect at least, like, like what would happen if this got out, right? That's how I roll. That is my internet security, right? I know you didn't miss a whole lot, Cosmic. Zuckerberg bought a 3% stake in Ray-Bans and hired a bunch of people, and Marco Rubio had an AI created of his voice that used Signal to communicate with people inside the government and some foreign nationals. So you're now all caught up. What up, Monochromatic? WhatsApp technically has end-to-end encryption, assuming they didn't remove it, but they also keep an eye on their server so they can read the message. According, and this is the thing, according to the latest ad that I saw that came across my dashboard, keep a key on their server. Got you. WhatsApp, their advertisement says that not even they can read read your messages. So again, it's like I just assume that somebody will be able to intercept my shit. Yeah, Monochromatic has been here. They just much more on the lurker side. Occasionally have something to say, and they are appreciated when they do so. I think that, and also they already have my info anyway as a sentiment. It is. It is.
actually don't care all that much about hyper-specific definitions of agents. I think a lot of the discourse around whether something is an agent or an agentic workflow or an automated workflow kind of doesn't matter. And the reason that it doesn't matter is that I think in this circumstance, the common knowledge and intuition about the difference between an agent and other types of AI is actually more accurate, or at least more functionally useful, than those highly specific and technical definitions. Basically, if you talk to your average business person or person who works for a big company or corporation,
I wouldn't trust
what an
it, Sean.
assistant or a co-pilot style AI is versus what an agent is, they'd probably give you some definition that roughly said, assistants are AI that I use to do things, whereas agents are AIs that do things for me. And I think broadly and directionally, that is the right dividing line. So what then is the use of this sort of deeper dive that we're about to go through? Well, even if that is the broad category dividing line between assistants and agents, there still are many different types of agents, and understanding different ways to think about them can be really useful as you're figuring out your agent strategy. Now, broadly speaking, there are a couple of different ways that people will try to organize agents. The first is based on their functionality, the second is based on their focus. So, in terms of the definitions that are based on functionality or how they operate, you'll often find this list of 6 or 7 different agents that include simple reflex agents, model-based reflex agents, goal-based agents, utility-based agents, learning agents, hierarchical agents, and sometimes the last that they'll add is multi-agent systems. Here's how AWS defines these things. A simple reflex agent is basically exactly what it sounds like. It operates based on predefined rules and the immediate data it has access to. As Amazon puts it, it will not respond to situations beyond a given event condition action rule. These agents then are well suited for very simple tasks that don't require a ton of training. The example that AWS gives is an agent that resets passwords by detecting specific keywords in a user's conversation. Some other use cases for this type of agent from DigitalOcean include automated sprinkler systems that activate based on smoke detection, email autoresponders that send predefined messages based on specific keywords or sender addresses, and things like that. Next up, we have model-based reflex agents. These are basically more complex reflex agents with a more advanced decision-making mechanism that can evaluate probable outcomes and consequences before deciding. DigitalOcean writes, the model tracks how the environment evolves, allowing the agent to infer unobserved aspects of the current state. While these agents don't actually remember past states in the way more advanced agents do, they use their world model to make better decisions about the current state. A use case they give is network monitoring, where a model would rely on metrics, logs, events, and network metadata to understand overall network conditions, and then from there detect anomalies, route alerts, and help with root cause analysis. Next up, we have goal-based agents or rule-based agents, which, as opposed to reflex agents that act based on rules or world models, goal-based agents can plan sequences of actions to achieve their desired outcomes. The key components of goal-based agents includes a goal state, a planning mechanism, a state evaluation, an action selection, and a world model. An example might be an inventory management system that can plan reorder schedules and maintain target stock levels. Learning agents, as you might imagine, are agentic systems that are capable of improving behavior over time by learning from previous experiences. The key difference from simpler agents is that rather than relying purely on knowledge that is pre-programmed, they can figure out how to achieve goals through experience. An example might be an advanced customer service chatbot, which doesn't just rely on a set of pre-programmed knowledge, but can interact with and improve its experience over time based on the conversations it's having with customers. Next up, we have utility-based agents, which differ from goal-based agents in that rather than shooting for some specific state, utility-based agents can explore and handle trade-offs between competing.
What up, kleptomaniac? How do I know I'm not a bot? This is the question. How do I know you're not a bot? How do I know any of you actually exist and this isn't just an extremely vivid and interesting hallucination that I've been having for an extended period of time? Ultimately, you don't.
Goals. An example that AWS gives are agents that search for flight tickets that can balance different types of benefits, like minimum travel time on the one hand versus price on the other, without having to know in advance which of those priorities the end user is going to prioritize most highly. With hierarchical agents, we start to get into agentic systems. AWS writes the higher level agents deconstruct complex tasks into smaller ones and assigns them to lower level agents. Each agent runs independently and submits a progress report to its supervising agent.
What
The
up,
higher
walking
level
stick?
agent collects the results and coordinates subordinate agents to ensure they collectively achieve their goals. And the idea here is that by having different specialized agents that work together in a larger system, you can go out and assign agents to achieve more complex tasks because they can break things down into more manageable subtasks. And then multi-agent systems might refer more broadly to combinations of these various agents which can achieve more complex goals. So this is a way of breaking down agents based on how they operate in the world. But there is another way to break agents down, which is based on focus. In this new information article, they're honing in, it feels to me, on how agents are actually being deployed right now and organizing the categories based on the output that the business who's using them is trying to achieve. The 7 categories that the information lists are business task agents, conversational agents, research agents, analytics agents, developer agents, and domain-specific agents. Business task agents are what some people might huffily say are actually automated workflows. These are useful for fairly simple but repetitive and common use cases like data entry, document classification, invoice processing. A lot of the business process automation layer that's happening right now fits into this category. The next up is conversational agents, which is inclusive of both external-facing customer service as well as internal-facing support around IT or HR questions. Research agents are, of course, agents that can go do research. Research agents, I think, are particularly important for the average employee because they're one of the first agentic experiences that even non-technical folks are deploying to great effect right now. The next category that the information includes are analytics agents, which can analyze structured data to produce graphics, charts, or reports. And then the last 2 are some of the most discussed categories: developer agents, which of course have been the major theme for most of this year, and as we'll see in just a minute, are perhaps
It's distinctly possible, Sean. Like, that's not an unreasonable conclusion. Sorry, Pharaoh. Or congrats. Delete whichever is inappropriate. I've talked about this, like, people talk about AGI, And my idea, as far as what I think the manifestation of AGI will be, will be a bunch of narrow AIs, right? AIs that are very good at one thing or a limited subset of things, very tight, right? Like Watson, right? The chess playing robot. Or no, I'm sorry, that was Big Blue. Big Blue was the chess playing robot. Watson was the one on Jeopardy, right? Very good at playing chess. Not very good at, anything else. So you have a bunch of these narrow AIs, however many you might need. And then, excuse me, another AI on top of that, and that this AI's job is to select one or more of those narrow AIs in order to resolve your issue, right? To process your request, to take care of your prompt, to make your image, to connect a piece of data, to analyze a piece of data, any of that kind of stuff, right? That's the way that would work. And functionally, that's very similar to what you're talking about, right? Like with the idea of if we take ants, a bunch of ants that are good at doing one job, and then a queen that tells them what to do. And how big does that need to be? It's difficult to say, right? Like we watched a video the other day about how they created teacher AIs to teach other AIs. And that these very small 7 billion parameter teacher AIs are capable of teaching a 32 billion parameter model, right? So you might see something like that manifest itself.
The single most significant breakout agent so far. And then lastly is domain-specific agents, which have in other places been referred to as vertical agents, that are specialized agents that have very specific domain knowledge in an area like legal, healthcare, or finance. So, whereas the functional frameworks for understanding different types of agents are useful in understanding what's going on under the hood and how agents are actually interacting with data and the world, these archetypes are a little bit more focused on the types of outcomes that you can enjoy if you successfully deploy these agents, which makes them useful in a different way for a different part of the planning process. Now, interestingly, we recently got a study from Iconic that looked at how the agent builders themselves are using AI and agents internally. So these are all from firms that are producing AI or agent software in some way, shape, or form. And when it came to the way that they are using AI and agents internally, there are some very clear trends. Notably, Coding Assistant is by far the most common use case at 77% of organizations. But really, as you can see, there is significant usage of AI and agents across a huge array of business categories, from coding assistance to content generation to knowledge retrieval to product design to business intelligence and beyond. Now, of course, every different agency is going to have some different version of their framework for breaking down different types of agents. KPMG, for example, has tried to simplify that functional breakdown by organizing things into more like 4 categories as opposed to 7. Their breakdown is the TACO framework that organizes agents into taskers, automators, collaborators, and orchestrators.
Hydran, this was the video if you want to check it out later. It's Sakana AI out of Japan, the open source tool. And this video does a good job of explaining all the ins and outs.
That are basically divided.
And that's why I hold on to fucking everything.
By the complexity of the tasks that they take on, the amount of human in the loop they need, and the breadth of the systems that they can interact with. What's useful about the TACO framework is that I think that these terms are more intuitive for a lay audience or a non-technical audience than perhaps the breakdown that includes words like reflexivity. Taskers, they write, execute well-defined individual tasks and require a human in the loop. Automators manage more complex tasks that span multi-system workflows. Collaborators are adaptive AI teammates that manage multidimensional goals. And orchestrators are transformative agentic systems that coordinate multiple agents and tools to manage interdependent workflows. Now, one interesting note, and a conversation I'm having a lot at the moment, is around this idea of orchestration. It is quite clear if you're spending any time with enterprises or private equity firms that there is a huge amount of discussion of orchestrators and multi-agent systems. And hold aside some of the technical conversations around what type of orchestration is needed for multi-agent systems to work, there is very clearly an emphasis on not just individual spot agents, but agentic systems. This to me was one of the most notable things from Microsoft's Build conference back in May, is that rather than talking about their cool premier agent in each of these different focus categories like conversational agents or research agents, instead Microsoft really put the emphasis on software and agent infrastructure. One of their big announcements was multi-agent orchestration in Copilot Studio that was designed to allow people to deploy more comprehensive and complex agentic systems where the agents could actually interact with one another. We're, of course, also seeing frameworks to support this sort of agent-to-agent interaction, including A2A, agent-to-agent, which is a communications protocol. And recently someone asked me if I thought that some of these businesses were getting ahead of themselves talking about multi-agent systems when they had barely wrapped their head around or deployed a single agent yet. My short answer was that I thought that no, that was actually a good thing. It's not about skipping steps and not doing the work to actually pilot and deploy and test and learn how to interact with single spot agents. But I think in general, organizations that think in these systems terms are more directionally aligned with where the world is heading. To the extent that agents really
And that was super business corpo speak, but this is actually the whole fucking thing of like we can wait until there's a big ass problem before we start talking about things like UBI or some other form of resource distribution and, tremendous job loss and AI in school and AI in education and how we're going to integrate these tools in our teaching processes. We can wait. Or we could think about this stuff now and talk about it now. Well, it's already, about 2 years too late to, start now, but better to start now than never. So that's all this is. This is just thinking about the future. How is the future going to manifest itself and how can I do something with it? You don't wait until they have, you don't build a system and make sure it works at 100% and then tack on a new thing. That's not how anybody does anything. You get it to a specific level of tolerance and then you add in a new feature, and then if that new feature breaks stuff, then you resolve those issues, and then you add a new feature, and that's just how it's done.
are taking on big chunks of labor and functions that were either A, previously done by humans, or B, weren't possible to be done by humans.
I will fight the fight and win the war. James, the legitimate, really real James from the internet, because only James from the internet has a 30-month streak on this channel. I appreciate you, homie.
Because of some complexity or cost equation, they are going to have to work together in comprehensive systems. To get the full value of agents,
I don't know. It's difficult to say, Cosmic. Might free models dry up? It's always possible. I think that there will always be a community of people making, what up, humanity? Making open source models in the same way that we still have people using Linux, right? There will always be people that, as long as they can access the technology to produce open source tools, they will produce open source tools. As far as like the big companies, right? ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, they want you to use the free stuff, right? The free stuff is it's like some drug dealer shit, right? Like they want to give you a taste, and then once you get hooked and you can't get your same fix out of the free shit anymore, well, now you're paying that $20 a month, right?
it will not just be a single spot agent deployed in a clever way. It will be big, complex
Premium.
digital worker organizations. And even if we're not all the way there yet, I think anchoring our thinking and our systems design to that agent system's future is going to be more productive than getting lost in the sauce of some specific exciting spot agent. Now, if that resonates, one recommendation that I would have is to start thinking about the infrastructure and tech stack that's going to need to be put around agents for you to get the most out of them. At the end of that same iconic report, there's a 12 or so page breakdown of different platforms across all of the different agent tool areas. And there are a lot of different agent tool areas: model training and fine tuning, LLM and AI application development, monitoring and observability, inference optimization, model hosting, model evaluation, data processing and feature engineering, vector databases, synthetic data and data augmentation, coding assistance, DevOps and ML ops, product and design. Now, not every enterprise is going to have to deal with all of these, but some of them are going to be common across basically everyone who's interacting with agents. Inference optimization is going to be something that every organization does. It is nearly 100% the case that you will have some sort of monitoring and observability suite. Same with evaluations. And the point is that as you think about agent readiness and exploring how to deploy agents, in addition to just thinking about use cases, also think about all of this infrastructure that needs to be built as well. And of course, I would be remiss at this point not to point out that if you are focused on this, if you are on this agentic journey, there are a lot worse places to start than the Superintelligent Agent Readiness Audit. It's a voice agent that we deploy to interview your leadership and teams about how they work now
He
in order to
slipped his
create a
ad in
roadmap and a blueprint for both the specific agentic use cases
for
that are
his
likely to be
product.
most valuable for you, as well as the additional change management or organizational gaps you need to fill to be able to take
Good job,
advantage of
buddy.
those use cases. Of course, if you are interested, we would love to help you with these problems. But whether you work with Superintelligent or not, the reality is that agents are here and they are distinctly not monolithic. They represent a broad set of different type of capabilities and operational models, and understanding and starting to figure out which of those operational models and which of those focus areas are going to be most useful is going to be a key part of your work in the years to come. Hopefully, this gives you some additional tools to think about your options. And for now, that's going to do it for this AI Daily Brief.
Up next, which AI should you be using in 2025?
Appreciate you listening or watching, as always. And until next time, peace.
Hey, I'm Dave. Welcome to my shop.
I saw a recent. Are you Canadian, Dave? I saw a recent agent introduction yesterday. I think it was OL. It had about 20-point products sewn together with an overlord. Yeah. People, like, there's going to be all the different levels, right? Like, there are going to be people, companies. When I say people, I mean companies. There are going to be companies that are going to want an off-the-shelf system, right? That they just, they buy it and then they install it and then they call somebody else when it breaks, right? There are people who are going to be like, I want to do everything in-house. There are people who are going to be somewhere in the middle of all those things. So, yeah. The Friendly Giant Programmer. He's Canadian.
I'm Dave Plummer, a retired software engineer from Microsoft, going back to the MS-DOS and Windows 95 days. And today we're going to take a serious, thoughtful, and maybe even a little bit opinionated look at the current state of AI large language models as of mid-2025. If you've ever found yourself wondering which of the top four, that's ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or Grok, is actually worth your money, then this episode is for you. Now, part of running this channel means being up to speed on the latest offerings, and so as a result, I've signed up for all four, every one of them. And I've been using them heavily for months now in real-world scenarios, everything from writing code to planning travel to breaking down the latest Supreme Court ruling, and I've formed some pretty strong opinions along the way.
Hey.
Now, before we dive into the specific examples, I want to set the stage a little. You see, when ChatGPT 4 came out, it felt like the whole world stopped to stare. It was just that impressive. It could write your cover letter, draft an essay, solve basic math, and even joke about the existential crisis of a sentient toaster. And for a while there, it seemed like only OpenAI had the secret sauce. Everyone else was playing
Many people can do it, Cosmic. Not everyone will. Not everyone wants to. Buying other people's commercial products is a little more sticky because of licensing. But you could theoretically create a bunch of products or grab a bunch of open source products or purchase a bunch of small companies' products and, sew them together with APIs and sell the overall product. Yeah, you can do that. Lots of people do that. Hey, terrible thoughts. What if AI products go the way of bundling? Get these AI services together for a discount of 25% off the standard price. Didn't you do one of those, Michael? Didn't you pay a flat fee to access a bunch of AIs? What, like a year ago or some period of time in the long ago? But yeah, no, that's exactly. I mean, I'm confident that kind of thing is what. I mean, yes, Perplexity has features of that, yeah. But then Gemini is Google, and Google wants me to use Google products. They want me to use Sheets and not Excel, right? And Microsoft wants me to use Excel and Copilot, right? Like that's ultimately where they want to be with the entire thing.
Catch up, and honestly, it looked like a two-horse race. OpenAI on one side, and maybe Google or Meta squinting from the other side of the track, trying to figure out where the starting line was. But fast forward today, and things have changed, big time. Grok has leveled up to version 3. Gemini is running at 2.5 Pro, Claude's on 3.7, or even Claude 4, depending who you ask, and ChatGPT is on ChatGPT 4.1, with some models now referred to as Omni or O3, and honestly, I can't sort it out, so I just try them and see which ones I like. In other words, the field is caught up, and the old idea that ChatGPT is just the best by default doesn't necessarily hold true anymore. These days, each model has carved out its own niche, from its own personality and in some cases its own fan base. And it's no longer about which model is best in the abstract, it's about which one is best for what you do. So today we're going to walk through 4 real-world examples, the kind of things that you are...
Right? We've been saying that for quite some time. I enjoy Gemini. Other people think Gemini is not good, right? They like ChatGPT or they like Claude. Some people are like, I like Claude for this, I like ChatGPT for that, I like Gemini for this. All are valid. All are equally valid. Whatever tool works best for you to accomplish your goals is the tool that you should be using.
I might actually do on a daily basis and see how each of the models stacks up. And at the end of it all, I'll tell you which one I think is best, and more importantly, which one you might want to keep based on your own needs. What I found wasn't a simple ranking from best to worst. It turns out they're all good, just not at the same things. They're not interchangeable tools. They're now kind of specialists, each with their own internal compass. And that makes sense because these models aren't built the same way. They're trained on different data, optimized.
But Microsoft doesn't want to lock off GitHub from other people. GitHub is just a mountainous repository of open source products that Microsoft can either use within the licensing agreement or take and tweak and then release as a product. They have a bunch of people doing R&D for them for real. Or for free. There's no reason that Microsoft would ever want to shut down GitHub. It provides them with too much value. And to be fair, it provides the open source community with a tremendous amount of value. Right? Given the nature of what GitHub is, it's a centralized repository for different open source projects to be easily shared between different communities, and it's done on what I assume is top-notch infrastructure. So it's like it's a win-win in the current meta. It's the best desirable outcome in the current meta, right? Where we get stuff for free, the corpos get stuff that they can do stuff with, and everyone, as such as we can be, is happy.
With different goals and designed by teams who have fundamentally different philosophies about what AI should actually be. So instead of just saying this one's the best, I want to show you how they perform on 4 real-world tasks that I actually use them for: coding, research, storytelling, and breaking news. And we'll talk about which one's best suited for each. Let's start with coding because that's where I actually spend the bulk of my time. Now, I've been writing code since well before any of these models ever saw their first bite, and the one thing that I've learned is that not all AI coders are created equal. For this test, I asked each model to write a C++ function that just recursively walks a directory tree and returns all files larger than 1 megabyte. And Claude absolutely crushed it. It didn't just give me working code, it gave me an elegant code base. It used standard file system like a pro, handled platform-specific quirks with grace, added inline comments that were actually useful. Not just, this is a loop, but context-aware stuff like, this handles symlinks to avoid infinite recursion. That's not something you get from a naive Stack Overflow copy and paste, usually. And when I asked it to revise the function to support exclusion patterns, like being able to skip my Git directories, it made the change cleanly and it tested the logic virtually on the spot. It even created a makefile for me with a couple of different options. Now, ChatGPT was no slouch either. The output was readable.
And if this gets a little too techy, a little too codey for any particular person, just listen for the highlight portions, and I transition back and forth to varying degrees of technical depth, right? If something doesn't necessarily make sense to you, either let it wash over you or feel free to ask, and there are many technically adept people, if not myself, who can answer a variety of questions.
Correct.
So far, Claude is really good at coding.
On the first run, that it handled follow-up questions very well, especially when I wanted to add logging or error handling. It's got this conversational edge that makes it easier to go back and forth, and it cheers you on, just maybe a little bit too much. But where Claude went deep, ChatGPT stayed broad. It's a great co-pilot, but it doesn't feel like it's reading your mind the way that Claude sometimes does. It feels like Claude's already seen it before and knows what you're looking for. And Grok 3 surprised me a lot here. I think based on the way the AI was introduced to the public, a lot of folks assume that Grok's just for memes and social media flair, but under the hood, Grok 3 has a solid reasoning chops, and the code it generated was concise and functional. It defaulted to Python when I first asked, but I steered it back to C++, and it got the job done without a hitch. The first thing I liked was the responsiveness. It's fast. It also explains the code in a way that feels natural, almost like pair programming with somebody who's energetic and not afraid to have opinions. Contrast with ChatGPT, which is more like your little buddy that tells you everything that you're doing is just awesome and it can't believe that you thought of it. That can be a double-edged sword, though. If you need clinical correctness for a production system, you might want to double-check edge cases and have it challenge you. But for fast iteration, it's fun and surprisingly capable. And Gemini did really well, too. The model leaned heavily into Google-style idioms and best practices. No surprise there, I guess, but sometimes it required more prompting to get the result that I actually wanted. Where Claude intuited what I meant, Gemini followed instructions more literally. And if you're detailed and precise in your input, that's a good thing. But if you're feeling lazy and just want the model to get it, it can be a bit stiff. Still, the resulting code passed static analysis cleanly and handled Unicode paths gracefully, which tells me the training set had quality C++ examples to start with. Bottom line, for serious development, Claude's the one that I would trust to commit to production after a code review. ChatGPT is a great co-pilot when you want to explore or iterate. Grok brings a conversational edge and speed that's refreshing. And Gemini rewards precision and discipline. It'll do exactly what you ask, but not much more. Let's move on to research and reasoning, and here's where it gets really interesting. Say you want to understand something non-trivial, like the implications of a recent Supreme Court ruling, or maybe how Shannon's theorem limits modem throughput over analog phone lines. This isn't trivia, it's deep reasoning across domains where you need some context, some nuance, and ideally some citations. Claude again stands tall here. Whether I'm exploring a technical RFC or asking about legal precedents, Claude takes its time to walk you through the concepts carefully, doesn't rush. It gives you structured answers that build logically from premise to conclusion. When I asked it to explain the differences between Shannon capacity and practical modem limitations, it built me a layered response that included the math, examples, and some historical context. And when I pushed back, saying, but why does ISDN manage to exceed the analog limit on the same wires, it didn't just repeat itself. It recontextualized and explained the difference between digital signaling and analog modulation. Then I understood it, and that's rare. ChatGPT does well here too, especially if you enable the browsing plugin. Its explanations are more concise and often a bit more readable to the layperson, but sometimes it glosses over edge cases or technical details unless you specifically ask for them. That makes it great at first-pass research or learning something new, but if you're already halfway up the learning curve, Claude goes deeper. Grok 3 is
What up, Paradigm? What do you want, baby? I'm just amazing like that. Sorry I haven't, I've missed the good chunks of your latest streams, but I've been in bed looking to go to sleep by 7. And that's, this is the way the world turns.
A surprise hit in this category. Thanks to its real-time data integration, it can quote current rulings, reference social media reactions, and pull in trending threads.
Final countdown like... Yeah, 7, because I have to get up by 3. I'm going to actually have to get up by 2:30 in the morning, Reed. That's like, my phone yells at me because it tracks my sleep cycle and it says I'm going to bed too early. And I'm like, no shit. But there's no option. I have to be to work by 4. That requires it. I need at least an hour, a good hour from waking up to being behind the wheel of a car. Right? That's just how that fucking shit works. And I like to get to work 15 minutes early so I don't have to deal with any bullshit.
From domain experts. It's especially strong on current events and dynamic topics where the dust hasn't even settled yet. The trade-off is that sometimes it makes...
Hydron, the TWA is a WWE video game wrestling league that Paradigm made up, and I contributed by creating some of the wrestler that are used within that. And my character, who is like patterned directly off of me, is the current champion.
This is commentary with analysis, so if you're looking for strict factual reporting, you're going to have some filtering to do on your own. But for perspective and pulse of the public insight, Grok nails it. Now, Gemini shines brightest when you're working across long documents or structured data. Give it a 1,000-line research report or a 60-page PDF and ask it to summarize it, and it'll chunk through the whole thing like it was born for it. Its context window is massive, more about that later, and it tracks references better than anything else I've tried. It's not always the most creative or opinionated model, but it's ruthlessly efficient at turning structured input into usable output. So here it depends on what kind of research you're doing. Claude for careful reasoning, ChatGPT.
I won't be able to, Cosmic. I've got the content I need to get through, and then at noon we'll be raiding into James because it's Wednesday. So that's where we're at. What up, Senator? Rome, New York or Rome, Italy? There you go. Yeah, so we'll be getting up at the same time.
T for clear overviews, Grok for current event awareness, and maybe Gemini for large structured input and extraction. All right, let's turn the dial all the way over to creative writing. And I will note that my books came out before ChatGPT was a thing. Say you want to write a short bedtime story about a dragon who's afraid of fire. That was the prompt I used, and the results were fascinating. ChatGPT is still the reigning champion of random storytelling. The dragon was named Ember. The conflict was internal. He wanted to be brave, but he couldn't breathe fire like the others. The resolution came from a little firefly who taught him to embrace his own inner kind of light. It was gentle, sweet, and emotionally resonant without being too preachy. And it was structured perfectly for reading aloud. If you've got a kid and a tablet, ChatGPT's got bedtime covered. Claude's story had depth and some literary flair. It read more like something from a children's anthology, thoughtful, poetic, and a little melancholy. The dragon didn't just fear fire, it feared becoming like the destructive forces around it. It was very nicely written, but maybe better suited to a quiet moment with a 10-year-old than a bedtime story time with a toddler. Grok surprised me with how flexible it was. It didn't just write one story, it offered me 2 different takes on it. One was light and silly, a dragon who sneezed fireworks. The other was more metaphorical, about fear of one's own power. It wasn't quite as polished as ChatGPT's story, but the creativity was on point. And if you asked it to add illustrations or a joke at the end, it was happy to oblige, and that was really cool. Gemini's story was competent, but it leaned clinical. It started strong, but got caught up in world-building details, like it told me how the dragon's flame glands work and what kind of diet suppresses combustion. Interesting, I guess, but maybe not what a 5-year-old needs before lights out. Still, if you're using the story as a teaching tool as part of a lesson plan, Gemini gives you plenty of material to expand on. So no weak links here, just different flavors. ChatGPT is the most emotionally resonant, Claude is literary and reflective, Grok is flexible and imaginative, and Gemini is informative and expandable. Last up, let's talk about breaking news and current events. This is the category where Grok 3 has simply run away with it. If something happens right now, Grok's your guy. Whether it's a court ruling, a product release, or a trending thread about software licensing, Grok pulls from live social media, public data, and X posts to give you not just what happened, but how people are reacting to it. It's the first model I check when I want to know what's going on right now or what people are saying about it. ChatGPT can handle current events decently with browsing enabled, but it's slower and sometimes hesitant to quote directly. Claude tends to sit this one out unless it's actually been widely verified, and Gemini plays it safe, factual but accurate, and rarely first. So if you need up-to-the-minute info, Grok's real-time integration is unmatched. Now let's take a little peek behind the scenes to talk about context windows and how
Some of that, Miss Frizzle, again, like, try, if you haven't, try prompting the prompt, right? Like, as opposed to writing out the prompt of what you want to see, tell the model to write a prompt to do the things that you want to see. And then go back and forth with it a little bit and see if that gets you better outcomes. If it doesn't, then don't waste your time. Go back to what you were doing, whatever makes you comfortable. But you might get better results, like if you have it create the prompt rather than creating the prompt yourself. Just something to think about.
they could impact your choice. A context window is the amount of text, measured in tokens, where one token is roughly 4 characters, that an AI like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or Grok can process in a single interaction. And this covers both your input and its output. As of mid-2025, ChatGPT's 4.0 and 4.5 handles 128,000 tokens, enough for about 96,000 words of dense text. Claude 4 steps up with 200,000 tokens, roughly 150,000 words, ideal for complex tasks. Gemini 2.5 Pro and Grok 3 each claim a massive 1 million tokens. Think 750,000 words or an entire novel like War and Peace with room to spare. These sizes dictate how well a model handles big jobs. Coding full projects, summarizing 100-page legal briefs, or keeping a 50-page chat coherent. For instance, Gemini's million token window lets it parse a 60,000-line code base or a 200-page research PDF completely in one go, catching nuances that smaller windows miss. Claude's 200,000 tokens shine in coding, delivering elegant C++ with comments like, "This avoids symlink recursion," thanks to its ability to track dependencies across large files. ChatGPT's 128,000 tokens are great for iterative debugging or short stories, but it can hit limits with massive datasets. Grok 3's million token claim is a game changer for real-time tasks like analyzing X threads, but there's chatter on platforms like Reddit that its effective context length might drop to under 128,000 tokens under load, a discrepancy that could trip up heavy users. Now, why does this
Nice and good. Excellent.
matter? Well, larger context windows mean better accuracy and coherence for complex tasks. Research from Google Cloud shows that they reduce hallucinations by keeping more context in memory, crucial for tasks like legal analysis or multi-step math. For example, when I asked Gemini to summarize a 60-page FCC report, its million token window nailed every key point without losing the thread, while ChatGPT needed chunking, risking gaps. Claude's 200,000 tokens aced a 300-line Python debug by remembering variable scopes across the file, something smaller windows struggle with. Grok 3's real-time X integration leverages its huge window to weave live posts into news summaries, but if the effective limit is lower, you might miss some of the depth. Smaller windows like ChatGPT's are faster and cheaper. Think $20 a month versus $30 for Grok's Super Grok, but they're less well suited to the epic tasks. The trade-off? Well, bigger windows demand more compute, hiking latency and costs, so casual users might stick with ChatGPT or Claude for emails or quick Q&A, saving cash without sacrificing very much at all. So here's the takeaway. If you're wrangling massive code bases, research tomes, or long-form novels, big context windows like Gemini's or Grok's million tokens or Claude's 200,000 are your heavy lifters, justifying premium subscriptions at around $20 to $30 a month. For everyday tasks like writing a cover letter, crafting a 500-word story, or answering trivia, ChatGPT's 128,000 tokens deliver without the overhead. Just watch for Grok's rumored context limit. Test it with your own big inputs before committing to a subscription. If you're more the type of person that asks short questions and doesn't have extended back and forth sessions with the AI, then the context window may not matter much to you at all. But for those of us that do, more is better, and I would trade it all for a little more. So that's the landscape in 2025. Not a single loser in the bunch, just a bunch of highly specialized tools that each bring you something unique. You wouldn't ask a welder to paint your walls, and you wouldn't ask a poet to debug your DNS. So if you want code, Claude is your engineer. If you are telling stories or teaching kids, ChatGPT is warm and polished. If you need a lightning-fast read on breaking news, Grok 3 is plugged in and unfiltered. And if your world is one of documents, context, and massive input, Gemini is your quiet genius. So if you found today's episode to be any combination of informative or entertaining, please remember that I'm mostly in this for the subs and likes, so I'd be honored if you consider leaving one of each before you go today. And if you're already subscribed, thank you. Thanks for joining me out here in the shop today. In the meantime and in between time, I hope to see you next time, right here in Dave's Garage.
Thanks, Dave. It's supposed to be. So those of you who don't know, The Friendly Giant is a children's television show. And I'm pretty sure it comes out of Canada. And at the beginning of the episode, you would roll up on the castle and they would roll down the drawbridge and do a little thing. So him calling himself the Friendly Giant program, I like it. It touches my heart, my nostalgic heart. Up next, fucking thing.
This little chair will be waiting for one of you, and a rocking chair for another who likes to rock, and a big armchair for two more to curl up in. All next time on Dave's Garage.
Because that's what the Friendly Giant would do. It would put out these chairs for us little kids to sit in, and it's just so nice. So nice.
The creator.
Okay. So I don't know what this is, but there's apparently a thing called BIMO, B-I-M-O, and the creator has denied using AI. And this person felt the need to make a video about it, and the thumbnail seems to indicate that they don't believe them. So, let's get ourselves a little AI investigation on.
Of BIMO thinks that you're stupid. Because, according to the BIMO creator, what you are seeing on your screen right now is not AI. Seriously. Having looked through the comments on BIMO's videos, I found this one, in which a user asked a simple question. AI? BIMO Official TV's response, no. I previously thought that the BIMO creator was being a little bit coy in their teasing of fans. The every frame is made with heart comment was not admitting that they use AI, but was also not an outright denial. The is this AI or something magical short felt a little bit like the BIMO creator was in on the joke, teasing fans who were left to speculate. This comment, however, is concrete evidence that the BIMO creator is trying to pull the wool over our eyes. They think that they can get away with releasing videos like this.
La boo boo, fluffy and fun.
Normalize your volume, dude.
Jumping.
And then tell us fans that it's not created using prompts from a machine.
Are you a fan of a children's television show?
That it's created with heart and soul and love. BIMO therefore represents, in my opinion, one of the biggest lies in internet history.
Hyperbole.
Oh my, BIMO told a massive lie. He tried to pretend he doesn't use AI. Oh my, BIMO told a massive lie. You only use prompts, bro, don't deny. BIMO did a lie. Evidence. As an example.
I mean, do I think, or maybe it's not a TV show, maybe it's a fucking, an online show, but fuck, dude, they have less than 10,000 subscribers. And you're talking about one of the biggest lies in internet history.
Take the most recent video posted onto BMO Official TV's account, BMO in the Big Game, Learning to Play Together, Episode 6. This is in fact the 108th video that's been posted onto BMO's account. You would think at this point they would have had time to iron out animation errors.
What up, Princess Kimberly?
And yet it remains a complete disaster. Take the time that BMO is accused of spilling water on someone before it actually happens.
You spilled water on me. You did it on purpose. I didn't mean to hurt you, I'm sorry.
Cowardly BMO.
Oh, and this is some English shit. UK chatters, answer for your crimes.
Then returns to his friends. He's so sad that a green star starts to grow out of his body. Yuck.
I'm going back to my friends. I didn't want to hurt him, really. We know.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously AI, right? Like, it's doing the thing where it moves its hand and, like, the shovel disappeared and a sandcastle showed up, right? Like, it was... But it's a kid's show, bro.
I'm walking to work instead of driving my car to save gas.
This was a kid's show.
I love looking at the scenery. Hey, who's that? Secretary, you want to join me on a walk to work? Sure, Ruby. Let's go. Hey, boss.
Oh, hi, Uwe. Hi, Secretary. What's up?
I don't know if this is actually even official Ubi, but, like, there was a bunch of Ubi. Right? And it was this. It's kids programming. It's about the little stories they tell. That's it, right?
You're kind.
Hit subscribe if you want to see me dive deep into more AI rabbit holes.
No, I want you to go fuck yourself. What button do I hit to do that? Like, you have 87,000 subscribers, bro, and you're going after a 10K channel that does children's programming. You fucking douchebag.
Holes. Thank you. Back to the video.
It makes me so sad he thinks I did it on purpose.
Nobody asked.
There's also this part, where BMO's dad has 3 arms, and this part, weirder still, when BMO literally turns into a star. Finally, we reach this point in the video, where there are 2 BMOs, because, well, of course there are.
Hi, my best friends. How are you today?
AI infestation. It's not just the videos themselves that are very clearly and very obviously made using artificial intelligence. It's also the description boxes. There are M dashes littered throughout BMO paragraphs.
Not M dashes.
I also put the description box through an AI checker. Not a 100% reliable way to check something is AI, admittedly, but it was hardly surprising that it was considered to be 100% AI generated. Sometimes in life, you can't beat the eye test. Take a look at this description box from a recent video. Playing is fun, but playing together is magical. Oh, the writing style, the emojis, the M dashes. Give me a break, dude. This is AI.
It's for children. Like, I can't snap. It's for children.
It's got to be. destroying kids' learning. BMO is not only out here selling a lie, it's also actively damaging kids' education.
How?
Despite promising in their video description box that viewers will have a gentle learning experience, you not only don't learn anything from watching BMO, you actually end up with terrible misconceptions about certain topics. Take this short, BMO's Shape Adventure.
Okay.
Circle, circle, roll around. Triangle pointy on the ground. Square is boxy, 1, 2, 3, 4. Heart is love, we want more.
The teacher pointed to a square, which
Oh,
then
God.
randomly changed into a heart. According to BMO themselves, the show is aimed at toddlers and preschoolers. If you were a 2-year-old, imagine how confused you would be watching this. BMO is
What up, Ribbons? Oh, I would see. I work way too hard. And BMO is educational vandalism. I work way too hard. I should just get on the internet and express rage at children's programming.
educational vandalism. BMO's homework time with Mummy is even more humiliating.
Humiliating, he
I
says.
take my pen. We write letters.
And look at these comments. Who the fuck are you people? Mommy helps, then shoves my ass into an adoption center. Mommy helps to break my ankles. Mommy helps, I go to the Lemonhead factory. Mommy helps, I throw myself into the orphanage. And these are, these are humans. This one might not be. It might. Ban Rocks 2768. But the rest of these are like human fucking usernames. Like, holy shit. Hobby.
A to N.
BMO writes his letters, A to N. I assume he's forgetting that there are 12 other letters of the alphabet from O to Z that also need to be written down. They also somehow managed to screw up counting to 3.
1, 2, throw. I count so bright.
BMO, how dare you present yourself as an educational outlet? You used the word
Yeah, okay, so 1, 2, 3. Obviously, they should have done a little bit more effort on creating their AI song. It's, you know, I feel that pain where you're just trying to make something and it screws up that one fucking word, and you know every time people hear the song, they're gonna fixate on that one fucking word, so you just gotta do it again. But this song was almost perfect, except for that one fucking word.
learn or learning in 2 of your 9 videos on your main channel. Yet, you cannot even create a short that shows children how to count to 3 correctly. Pathetic. The dark truth of BMO. BMO is not getting criticism because it uses terrible AI to animate its videos. No, BMO is getting hate because the creator of BMO is lying to fans and treating us like we're dummy dum-dums. In denying their own use of AI, the BMO creator is asking us not to believe our own eyes. I would have to not see these animation glitches, these visual disasters, these acts of artistic terrorism. I would have to enter an unreality if I were to believe that BMO did not use AI and that it was truly made with heart. What makes the situation even worse is that BMO really could be something very special. The character design is good, so's the name. There are even moments in BMO videos
So we've got educational vandalism and artistic terrorism.
where the animation looks human-made and you get to see a little glimmer of what BMO could be.
See, I consider this sort of thing AI slop because it's below my personal level of acceptance for a quality product. I agree. They seem to have not taken the minimum amount of time to produce quality. I agree. I understand they are likely one-shotting these and just taking what comes out. Some people may not care, like babies, but it's not for me, so I really don't care. Exactly, right? Like, literally where I am on the entire thing. It's the fact that Ban Rocks cannot get away from commenting on every single fucking video apparently. Like, and like the artistic terrorism.
With BMO, though, we have a creator who does not understand their own creation. They also do not understand why they are receiving negative feedback from users. In fact, they seem utterly perplexed by the backlash against them. Why, oh, why do...
Well, yeah, because a bunch of the hate that they're getting isn't because they're putting out a shit product. It's because they used AI. They dared to use AI. If you read the comments as they go past, that's why people are upset, because they used AI. It doesn't matter that it's garbage, right? It would be garbage if a human did it. It's just because it happens to be AI that, like, you know, you get out the torches and pitchforks and burn people to the ground.
Y'all hate me, guys. You secretly love me, don't deny.
And you actually went out of your way to learn enough about the song to create a song based on the BMO theme song that you could then sing over the top of it. This is a really weird obsession homie has.
Why, oh, why do you hate me, guys? I'm telling the truth, I don't use AI. They may get hate, but is BMO rage bait? I'll save that question for my next video because
No, you're
I
rage
think I
bait.
found proof of BMO being or not being rage bait, one way or another. I'm Snipe Snap, he's my cat Lucky. Thank you for watching my video today. Snipe, Snap, out.
Fuck this guy. Oh. Well, that was the thing that happened. Hey, let's fix our brains with some educational content.
In weird science news,
Lower your shield sense
So many things happened at once.
We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile.
All we wanna do is eat your brains.
I just met you.
This is crazy. Here's my number.
Call me maybe.
Riddling Thought, one of my favorite places to be in the DGen hours now that I'm fucking waking up at that time. What up, Red? What up, Raiders? I'm Globus Elder. I talk about AI, automation, robots, and future tech. Your timing was perfect because the garbage fucking pile we just watched was fucking terrible, and it's over. So now we can talk about new stuff like plastic-eating moths and plasma donations to filter microplastics. What up, Johnny? It's going to be awkward when James raids into himself in an hour or so. It's not awkward. It's a circle of life. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your stream, Red. Red learned a valuable lesson about giving chat too much control, and it totally threw their planning out the window. But they seem to enjoy the game they got to play. So, James, something to think about, right? Red sacrificed his stream to chat and then got to play video games with chat. What up, TV Wise? Welcome in. I understand. I'm just telling you what happened. And he made money. I'm just telling you what happened, James. I'm just telling you what happened. I watched it. We did science, or he did science, and I got to observe. All right, plastic-eating moths.
people are becoming increasingly concerned about microplastics. With good reason, they've been linked to everything from infertility, dementia, heart disease. They can clog your arteries along with cholesterol. And mark my words, we will see plastic-related sepsis. That is a prediction on my side, because I know that anytime you have a foreign body in your body, it can be a fomite, which is something that bacteria can grow on. It's why I have a greater risk for sepsis just because I have metal in my foot. Now, if you've ever been unfortunate enough to donate plasma, it's an industry where you can sell your blood plasma, which is used in biotech and medical research. And you might notice that there's stuff like fat and cholesterol in it once you filter it out.
I always gave my shit away for free. I never sold my plasma. I used to give blood, and then they did a thing called the apheresis, which is where they pump your blood out, run it through this machine that separates out the plasma and some of the plasma and like your platelets and white blood cells, and then gives you the blood back. It takes fucking like 3 hours. But like I would O positive. I'm a good donor, helping people out, doing that fucking thing, and I could have been making money out here.
Turns out there is some evidence that if you regularly donate plasma, you might actually be able to filter plastics from your blood. More research is of course needed, and this also covered blood donations, but there is at least some evidence that filtering your blood could take microplastics out. And because people keep asking me about it, yes, there are bacteria and fungi and apparently moth larvae.
USA. Now, that's what we do, Hydra. We commodify everything
That can digest plastic. Genes have even been isolated, which confer the ability to digest plastic if you are a bacteria. But that's not really something that you want because your body sees foreign entities like bacteria and fungi as a threat. So even if we're not a pathogen, you do not want bacteria in your bloodstream ever. Your blood is sterile. One could argue that they could be in our guts, and that's all fine and good, except our gut microbiome is kind of a delicate system. Also, there's toxic byproducts from degrading plastic, at least in terms of bacteria. However, it has been recently discovered that the wax moth can eat plastic and the byproducts are not toxic, interestingly. Wax moths are a globally distributed moth, and in their larval stage, they eat beeswax. I'm not entirely sure how somebody figured it out, but apparently they can eat a plastic bag. The byproduct of their digestion is just propylene glycol, other non-toxic byproducts. It would seem like they were evolved to eat plastic, but more likely they were just evolved to eat wax, which is a relatively similar structure. It's actually really weird that they can do this. What we are seeing amongst bacteria, fungi, and maybe these guys could join the game.
Fucking best fucking bug ever, dude. They eat plastic and shit vape juice.
We're seeing creatures adjusting to the world that we've given them. Plastic is relatively new on the planet, but petroleum is not. When critters had to figure out how to degrade wood, it ended up piling up and becoming coal, and algae most likely ended up becoming our petroleum today. Turns out that's what happens when you degrade in an environment where nothing eats you. You just turn to petroleum. We see a similar effect on mummies on mountains, for that matter. Also, some people eat mummified organic matter from mountaintops. I don't understand that. I doubt there's anything good about it, but I've got family who eats it as a supplement. I don't get it. Also, yeah, you probably can't use wax moths in your body either, but donating plasma is on the table.
This is an AI player trying to
So that was weird. That's what we do here. Not weird like unscientific conspiracy theory, weird shit. No, we do the weird science shit. New 2-minute papers. NVIDIA's new AI cheated at parkour and got fixed.
This is an AI player trying to survive in a challenging game environment. Ouch. And it ended up a bit like a parkour simulator. It is also cheating like crazy. But don't worry, we won't let it do that. You see, to teach it, we start from motion capture data. You know, motions copied from real humans. It's a start, but it's not much. Only 14 minutes of data. You can't really.
Anybody see that? There used to be a thing. I don't know if it's still going. It was this shit.
Santos to win it for third place here at York Hall in the World Championship. Apex Dojas first as he goes into the Delta Cube. A look over the shoulder. Luke Stones didn't know where he was. A dive through, and Luke Stones knew that time. He knew that time. Oh!
And it's all over. There's a mid-air tag. He balled up from the sisters, tried to make him as small as he could to not get tagged, but Santos has followed him through and got that tag on the foot.
I'm really surprised we never got a video game out of this. That was the first thing I thought of when I started seeing this. Because it would all be twitchy shit and button pressing and everything else. Oh, like I am fucking Old Lobster. I'm surprised it doesn't happen all the time. Right? Like that these people don't take fucking them bars to the face like constantly.
Do anything meaningful with that, except if, well, here is an incredible idea from scientists at NVIDIA and Simon Fraser University in 3 steps. 1. Let's use this data we already have. This is the character that you see here. Now, look at these characters. What is going on here? Well, 2, they create new randomly generated levels, and 3, they use a physics-based engine to create new motions from the new levels and the data we have. So, why are 2 characters here? Why not just 1? And what is all this useful for? Well, you will see that the result will be absolute magic. Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-minute papers with Dr. Károly Zsolnai Fehér. You see, new, purely kinematic motions here are dreamed up by the AI, but these can have floating, foot sliding, and other kinds of cheating, so they have to be corrected by a physics engine to create physically plausible motion. Then we add.
Have you asked it? Ms. Frizzle?
These new movements to our initially small data set and grow it. Then the cycle starts again. We'll see in a moment what this is good for. But wait a second, we generated new levels. But how do the motions actually happen? What do we, the character, do on these levels? Well, they generate paths within these levels and the character is supposed to follow them, which can involve climbing, jumping, and more. So now, the moment of truth. How did it do? Well, after the first cycle of enriching the dataset, not too great. So keep going. One more round of enriching the dataset and then, hey, come on man, that is cheating. What just happened? Well, note that the green characters from earlier go through a path, but not necessarily in a physically correct manner. We need to correct their motion. And after doing that, let's see. Haha, now we're talking. 3 iterations of enriching the small starting dataset with physics-based correction, and now we are in business. And with this, the most incredible thing happened. So, what did it learn? Did it just learn to do stuff?
Get some sleep, homie. I don't think you're streaming tomorrow morning, because you're doing, the homie, Redolent Thought, and the other homie, Ali Problemas, gonna be bartending at the same joint. Fucking A. So I don't think you're gonna be streaming, but if you are, I'll see you, and if you're not, then I'll see you.
That it had already seen before? Nope, not in the slightest. Check this out. 1, it learned to combine multiple motions together, like jumping, holding on to, well, not the papers, but the cliff edge, and climbing up. And now, hold on to your papers, fellow scholars, and look, did it survive? Oh yes, and it has crazy skills now. And to think that it learned this by itself. Wow. And now comes my favorite, testing whether this is really intelligent. How do we do that? Well, we test it on new environments it hasn't seen yet. And at this point, we understand that the green character is just a dream and the blue is the one with its physics corrected. And it seems like these two jolly chaps can finish any level we can make them. So cool. Of course, our choice is the blue one. So they can do lots of jumping and climbing. I'll be honest, at this point, I am not too surprised by that. But now, give me something truly different from the previous levels. Climbing a monument. Okay, I love that. And there is that one point that I was really impressed with. Don't blink because it is really easy to miss. Did you see that? Look, after doing the first jump, like most video game characters, it did not stop to execute a second jump, but instead it hopped forward on just one leg. It didn't even stop, and it looked really natural. Loving it. But what we want now is more levels. During the climbing of the spiral, I am liking this, but all this running around made our AI friend a little constipated. It's alright, little AI. I won't tell anyone about it. And we are scholars here. We love to look into the research works, and two things really took my breath away when reading the paper. One, every clip in the original small motion capture dataset was converted into 50 different terrain variations. That is incredible. So, a single recording suddenly became a rich playground of environments. And two, it does not require a huge cluster of GPUs to train. Just one graphics card, although an A6000, so an expensive one. And it takes a while too, up to a month to train. Still, the possibility of doing it on one card is incredible. Now, limitations. Not even this technique is perfect. The motion generator itself is a bit slow. It can take about 25 seconds to create 1 second of character movement on a GPU. That's like waiting 4 minutes to see 10 seconds of parkour. But just imagine what we will be capable of 2 more papers down the line. So, teaching an AI to survive in the dire world of the Spire, even when constipated, is now possible. How cool is that? Hopefully coming to games and virtual worlds near you soon. What a time to be alive! It is absolutely crazy that no one that I know is talking about this amazing work. Only on 2-minute papers. Fellow scholars, check this out. This is Deep Infra, an AI inference cloud where you can...
All right, homie's going to do his ad, and we're going to let him.
Like DeepSeek, Llama, and pay up to 10 times less than...
And we're going to shift back over into AI Daily Brief to talk about how LLMs are shifting the business model of the internet.
Super easy to use. Try it out today at deepinfra.com/papers or click the link in the description and get $20.
No, and like I'm super surprised.
Welcome back to the AI Daily.
Hold on. That we didn't get a video game of that, that any kind of like competitive tag type game. It just seems like it would lend itself really well to the games industry. And if you do it, like, you can get it for everyone. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about being like too violent for kids or, whatever other bullshit people run into. It's tag. It's parkour tag. Where is this?
Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. Today we're kicking off with a discussion of how the business model of the internet is changing thanks to AI, LLMs, ChatGPT, etc. And specifically, we're looking at new data from SimilarWeb that shows just how quickly the flow of web traffic is changing. The report found that referrals from ChatGPT are growing rapidly, but not fast enough to offset the decline in clicks. From the launch of Google's AI overviews in May of last year, the number of so-called zero-click news searches rose from 56 to 69%. These searches terminate with the users finding their information within the AI summary, as opposed to, of course, heading off to some other website, which was always the bargain of search engines. Yes, you can index our websites in exchange for sending us traffic. Well, now you're not necessarily sending them traffic. Over the same period, organic traffic to news sites dropped from 2.3 billion to 1.7 billion, a 25% decline. Interestingly, there was a huge spike in traffic last summer, maybe a result of outrage over Google's AI features, but that quickly died off as users shifted to getting their news direct from AI overviews. Simultaneously, news-related prompts in ChatGPT grew by more than 200% since January of last year. During that time, referrals to news websites from ChatGPT grew from less than 1 million to more than 25 million. This suggests that there is a new behavior happening where ChatGPT users are clicking through to the original source, but it is not enough to replace the traffic that's being lost from Google. SimilarWeb also noted that search rank isn't translating into web traffic in the same way it used to. Some SEO consultants have noted that impressions have completely decoupled from clicks, threatening.
Yeah, not what I would do either. Not that I don't feel that like the information that I get is reliable, but like it's just not how I would go about it. I wonder, right? Because on this channel, we have seen everywhere from, with proper implementation of certain prompt rules and certain verification techniques, the outputs that you get from an AI chatbot are virtually hallucination free. All the way to other people saying they hallucinate all the time and it's garbage. And I wonder how much of that they hallucinate all the time it's garbage narrative is coming out of like the fact that people are losing web traffic, right? And if I can't rely on the AI, then at the very least I have to click through the link in order to verify what the AI told me. So they're getting that some amount of that web traffic back. Just a thought. Could be bullshit. Sounds plausible.
In some ways, the entire premise of SEO. Digging into
Fuck
individual news
SEO.
sources, the sites experiencing the most additional traffic from ChatGPT are the biggies: Reuters, the New York Post, and Business Insider. SimilarWeb also looked at the most searched topics for ChatGPT as a news source, finding that stocks and finance were a combined 54% of news-related prompts, with sports and weather being at 17 and 15% respectively. Economics, politics, and tariffs were also above 10%. TLDR, the AI format is absolutely having a foundational impact on the consumption of news.
Oh no, Michael. No. They are still complaining about the he's joking, Hydron. He's joking. He made a funny. They're still complaining about the AI overviews. Like I get shit all the time. I'm still getting things about how AI is making you dumber if you use it. A new one, like a brand new article or something every day. I get, video recommendations running over the same old low hanging fruit of, like what do we got? Let's do it. Let's do it within this week. Here's a news story talking about the AI ban that we covered. All right, so this might be a good news story because this is actually I'm getting news stories. So even like I might have begun to train YouTube to be like more accurately reflect my needs, but this is a news story commenting on a video that I saw about AI generated influencers. Here's your Joe Rogan, your Ro Jogan. This dude talking about how Ukraine war AI slop is insane. Here's somebody doing a video talking to Brian Beto, Rick Beto. These are actually fairly decent. This is I Ask AI. This is a second video talking about how the new YouTube policy is ending faceless AI channels. This is what I see. Here's the same shit. Spotify exposed the AI band scam from the top music attorney. They're great. We love them. AI generated commercials are insane. This is the content, right? Here it is again, another person doing a video about the AI band. It's like everyone has to do their own fucking take on the same fucking content. Nothing new, right? Like, I'm not surprised at any of this. It's just, I don't know. The human slop is kind of mid.
Users seem to be moving away from passively consuming curated news stories towards a more active exploration of current events, which, if you're an optimist, could breed a lot of new opportunities. Certainly not without some challenges in the meantime, though. And that is, of course, I think the story with basically all the changes of AI. We have a very optimistic future and a
Larry, I have no idea, and I have no idea to click on one of them videos to find out.
very chaotic in between. And how well we navigate the in between is going to dictate a lot about how well we get to enjoy that future. If nothing else, there is a new bonanza for people who are designing entire new businesses around generative engine optimization, or whatever term you want to use for it. So expect a lot of entrepreneurial activity there. Now, speaking of Google and AI overviews, the company is facing a new antitrust complaint.
I saw, like I can do it from here, right? But if I go home, I mean, I tend to only get, for the most part, like regular videos. And for the most part, like I've trained my algorithm. I don't know what's going on with this behavior. This has shown up really, like, I don't even know what this is. And then I just go, I'm not interested. Right? Musk tells Tesla bull Dan Ives to shut up. Great. So yeah. So I'm not filtering out shorts. They show up here every so often, but that's what I get.
In EU after publishers push back on those AI overviews.
Oh yeah, when I search for something, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, because when I go here and I do this and I do that in my filters, right? I click 4 to 20 minutes. Because there's nothing in here that tells me like that I can exclude shorts. And that's the thing, is I don't necessarily even want to exclude shorts, but you know, I don't want to see slop from humans or
As we just discussed, the doomsayer's
AIs.
take on all of this is that the business model of the web has been fundamentally undermined. And in the EU, publishers are not sitting around and passively letting this happen. The Independent Publishers Alliance argued, Google's core search engine service is misusing web content for Google's AI overviews in Google Search, which have caused and continue to cause significant harm to publishers, including news publishers in the form of traffic, readership, and revenue loss. The complaint noted that publishers have no ability to opt out of AI overviews without losing their ability to appear in traditional search results. Google, however, is maintaining their position that AI overviews is net new demand for search, stating, new AI experiences in search enable people to ask even more questions, which creates new opportunities for content and businesses to be discovered. The reality is that sites can gain and lose traffic for a variety of reasons, including seasonal demand, interests of users, and regular algorithmic updates to search. Still, while Google is denying the impact in the press, their actions do suggest that they know that back-end changes are required to sustain the open web. Bloomberg, for example, reports that Google is considering modifications to their shopping experience to comply with
the open web. It's one particular kind of fucking thing for another particular kind of fucking thing. Right? Do you prefer your internet search to be full of SEO and Google ads, or do you prefer your internet search to be directed through one company's, choice of AI?
EU's digital markets regulations. For travel and e-commerce searches, Google is considering including a drop-down menu of various offers that link to external websites. And although fines and lawsuits may be flying, there is still a general recognition that the...
Am I going to get an alert? Ben paid his money. Where's my alert? Twitch. Good job, Twitch. You're doing a heck of a job there, Dan. Ben, thank you for subbing for a month. There it is.
Like before, I will fight the fight and win the war.
Here's my earth-shattering kaboom. But I got the notification. How did I get a notification that they were subscribed? But yeah, maybe I'm just boomer in the internet.
Era of 10 blue links is coming to a close. Even if Google buckles to demands, consumer
Thank you, Ben.
preference is shifting towards AI search, and many other companies are poised to take advantage. Andrew Yan, co-founder of AI search startup Athena, said, "Companies have been spending the last 10 or 20 years optimizing their website for the 10 blue links version of Google. That version of Google is changing very fast and is changing forever." Like I said before, there are going to be so many interesting entrepreneurial innovations in this space. For example, optimizing for agent searches instead of human searches. But for now, again, this in-between period is going to be very, very messy. Next up, some big acquisition news. Grammarly has acquired AI email client Superhuman as part of their transformation into a full productivity platform. In a press release, the company said that drafting emails is already their number one use case, so in that way, the acquisition makes a ton of sense. Grammarly will now have a native platform for using their core product. Still, their ambitions go much further. The company wrote, "Grammarly is evolving into a productivity platform for apps and agents, moving towards a multi-product company with hundreds of intelligent tasks."
Like, remember when Grammarly was just a spell check? It was just a fancy-ass spell check. And now they're looking to be a full-service productivity fucking AI app joint.
Task-specific agents. Email represents the ideal environment for this multi-agent assistance, with professionals spending more than 3 hours daily in their inboxes and email remaining foundational to any productivity suite. And I think, hold aside the details, you now have multiple labs racing to put together their own productivity suites, basically wanting to own a distribution channel for their agentic workflows. Joy Guo writes, "Feels like all single-feature SaaS will need to pivot, e.g. Airtable becomes App Builder, become multi-feature, e.g. Grammarly acquires Superhuman, or die. Still, some couldn't resist a little bit of a joke. YC founder Hendrix Liu writes, Superhuman plus Grammarly. Now your emails will be fast, perfectly punctuated, and...
So Hydran posted, I don't trust Grammarly. And I was going to ask why. And then I read Old Lobster. We had to ban Grammarly because it was harvesting intellectual property and storing it on their server. And it's like, just like that, I get an answer to my question.
Still ignored. Next up, following up on the fallout of Zuckerberg's big poaching expedition, Ilya Sutskever will be taking over as CEO of Safe Superintelligence following the departure of Daniel Gross. In a post on X, Ilya confirmed that Gross has signed a deal to join Meta's superintelligence team as one of their key leaders. He also announced that former OpenAI researcher Daniel Levy will be elevated to the role of president. Addressing rumors that Meta had attempted to buy the company, Sutskever wrote, "You might have heard rumors of companies looking to acquire us. We are flattered by their attention, but are focused on seeing our work through. We have the compute, we have the team, and we know what to do. Together, we will keep building safe superintelligence." Writes TechCrunch, naturally Gross's departure may raise questions about the startup. If safe superintelligence was close to its goal, surely a groundbreaking technology as it's described, why would its co-founder leave to start something new, seemingly at Meta? And this is a really interesting question. I think assuming that this has much to do with where Ilya and his startup are is a little bit dangerous. I think Future Search founder Dan Schwartz has the right of it when he writes, Nat Friedman and Daniel Gross joining Meta seems odd, but what would you do in their position if you were completely superintelligence pilled? They want A, a zillion GPUs, and B, a seat at the table. Zuckerberg can offer that. Lastly today, if you are keeping track of pricing norms, Perplexity has joined rivals in introducing a premium $200 a month subscription.
Jeez.
The big selling point for Perplexity Max is unlimited access to the Labs feature. Introduced in late May, the feature allowed users to spin up custom dashboards, web apps, and assorted documents within the platform. The goal was to shift Perplexity away from being just an AI search engine towards being, you guessed it, based on our previous conversation about Grammarly, an AI productivity suite. Max also offers early access to new features, with the company's soon-to-be-released agentic browser being the first on offer. So now we have OpenAI, Anthropic, Cursor, and Perplexity all offering this $200 a month super premium subscription. This will be a huge test of Perplexity's user base to see how deep the devotion really goes. In other words, is the average Perplexity subscriber just a super user who's also subscribed to everything else? It seems much less likely that that type of user is going to jump from $20 to $200. Instead, the people who are going to be willing to spend $200 for Perplexity are more likely to be people who are actually using their specific features in a core way. For that reason, I think it's a good move, even if it doesn't have all that many subscribers, in that it's extremely valuable for Perplexity to understand who their core users really are. Anyways, if nothing else, interesting to see how people are gravitating towards this $200 number. For now, though, that is going to do it for today's headline.
Up next, we're going to check in with Damien again. A little pop culture related to the shit we talk about and that we've talked about before. Blade Runner is an empathy test.
Next up, the main episode.
You reach down, you flip the tortoise over on its back, Leon.
Can you make up these questions, Mr. Holden? Or they write them down for you.
The tortoise lays on its back, its belly baking in the hot sun, beating its legs, trying to turn itself over, but it can't. Not without your help. But you're not helping.
What do you mean I'm not helping?
I mean you're not helping. Why is that, Leon?
The science fiction author Philip Kindred Dick believes that humans were defined not by our intelligence or our
Is that right? Kindred. I thought it was Kendrick. Because if Philip K. Dick's middle name was Kendrick, that would have been cool. Also, Reed, what's up with your boy? What little respect, maybe, that I had for Anthony Fantano out here pumping a pedophile on his main channel. Woo!
technology, but by our empathy. The human capacity for empathy, our ability to place ourselves into the experience of the other, is what makes us truly human. It's our capacity for empathy that makes stories possible. Without empathy for its characters, the story cannot come to life. But as humans, we are also capable of not feeling empathy. Who we feel empathy for, and crucially, who we choose to exclude from empathy, became the theme of Philip K. Dick's novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?
I don't know, Michael. I really don't understand the pricing schema. They just go 10x. According to Kendrick, certified lover boy, certified pedophile. Wop, wop, wop.
The novel that became Blade Runner. To tell Android from
What up, got your back girl? Welcome in.
Human, we must have an empathy test. But what if we, the humans, fail the test of empathy?
He say you Blade Runner.
Tell him I'm eating.
Captain Bryant.
From its title onward, Blade Runner constructs a test of empathy for the audience. The words Blade Runner summon images of the hard-boiled detective, of the gritty outsider hero. But the character we follow through Blade Runner is no hero. Rick Deckard is a slave hunter. Blade Runner's sci-fi noir setting, its immaculate production design and cinematography hypnotize us into ignoring the truth before our eyes.
Yeah, I remember he sent him a text message that he used like a text-to-speech program, and we sampled that over at Paradigms for a drop. I'm feeling a light one on your head.
The cyberpunk future of Los Angeles in 2019 is a world built on slavery. Blade Runner is a representation of an America built on slavery that has returned to slavery again. Androids are metaphor for African American slaves. Off-world colonies stand in for American colonies. Every off-worlder, like the early American colonists, is entitled to own slaves. America's first police officers who were explicitly tasked with slave hunting are the Blade Runner. We, the audience, follow Rick Deckard as he hunts and kills his victims. A woman is forced to flee naked through the city, then shot in the back.
A little Stampy break. For all the new people, this is Stampy. Well, this is half Stampy. Stampy has come for snacks. He is an absolute chunker. What a Kippawa. He's a big beastie boy. All muscle, too. He's not a fat cat. He's just a heckin' muscular chunker. Aren't you? That's it. There was the snacks. Aren't you a heckin' chunker?
By the police officer who hunts him. A man in despair at the death of his love is set to bring justice to her killer when an innocent saves the killer. An innocent girl, only a few days old, is coerced into sex by a police officer in exchange for protection. A billionaire who made his fortune from selling lives into slavery is finally confronted by the champion of his victims.
I want more life, Father.
A 5-year-old girl, raped repeatedly as a pleasure model, is shot through the heart in her final moments of life. With each abuse and murder we watch without empathy, we, the audience, fail the empathy test. Blade Runner exploits the same flaw in human psychology that allows us, in reality, to watch without empathy the abuse, beating, and shooting of others. Othering is the psychological process that allows us to exclude other humans from the circle of our empathy. Humans are story-driven beings. If we are told the hero of the story is the police officer, we can accept almost any abuse against the criminal he hunts. If we are told the hero is human, we can watch the murder of the android. If we are told the hero is male, we can watch the abuse of the female. If we are told the hero is white, we will not question the murder of black. If we are told the hero is us, we will watch with relief the pain and suffering of the other. All of humankind's worst travesties were possible only because of othering. War, genocide, systematic rape, and slavery can only exist if we can other their victims. Blade Runner tests our empathy to show how easily we fail the test. And then Blade Runner offers us redemption. At the climax of the story, we watch the slave hunter Rick Deckard first saved and then redeemed by the android Roy Batty.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched C-beams glitter in the dark near the 10-house gate. All those moments will be lost in time. Like tears in rain. Time to die.
We are showing Roy Batty with a nail through one hand, a dove in the other, the Christian symbols for mortal suffering and transcendent life. Like Blade Runner, the story of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ tests the empathy of its audience.
I'm not sure. They might, Larry.
Christ has been made other by the people he was born to save. We follow his journey to the cross as he is beaten, tortured, and killed. If we, the audience, have the strength to empathize, to feel Christ's suffering, then we can follow our Savior into death and experience rebirth and redemption. As we watch Roy Batty forgive the man who came to murder him, we have our own chance of redemption. Because it is Roy Batty who is the hero of Blade Runner. It is Roy Batty who rises up against oppression. It is Roy Batty who rescues his people from slavery. It is Roy Batty who confronts and throws down his maker. It is Roy Batty who faces and forgives the man who killed his lover. Existing on the edge of a 4-year lifespan, half as long but twice as bright a life, it is Roy Batty who is the Blade Runner. If we can see the hero in the other, if we can feel for Roy Batty after being given every excuse not to feel, then with empathy we can follow his journey into death and glimpse our own redemption. Androids live brief lives filled with suffering and pain, built on memories that will be lost in time like tears in rain. And so, as humans, do we. As Rick Deckard watches Roy Batty's death, he sees the humanity in the android, touches his self in the other, finds empathy for the being he came to murder, and he finds his own redemption. Deckard has no human relationships. Like all androids, his few memories are based on old photographs. His hard-boiled noir persona is the kind of false identity an android would be given. The office where Deckard is briefed seems to be a set on a soundstage. The inspector who briefs him a bad, cliched actor. The android being tested in the office of its creator is not Rachel, who fails the test, but Deckard, who passes.
I'm impressed. How many questions does it usually take to spot?
Deckard is followed on every step of his path by another detective, because an android that completes its mission must then, itself, be retired.
But then again, who does?
When that detective chooses to let Deckard and Rachel run, an act of empathy, the origami unicorn he leaves at the door mirrors Deckard's repeating memory, indicating that Deckard's memories, like Rachel's, are implants. Is Deckard an android? The point of Blade Runner's most famous mystery is that it doesn't matter. Whether Deckard is an android or a human, he will live and then die. All that matters is what he does with the time in between. Deckard can find empathy for the other, and with it his own redemption, or he can live in fear as a slave.
quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it? That's what it is to be a slave.
Slavery or freedom, suffering or redemption, fear or empathy. These are the choices that face the characters in Blade Runner. Our choice as humans is nothing less.
Here is the link you requested. I recommend everything on this channel. Just watch yourself for spoilers, because obviously they're like right on top of stuff. A lot of stuff related to Andor. I still haven't seen Andor season 2. But like their video on the culture, which is this thumbnail right here, that was great. I love that one. I really appreciate Damien. And he's got good politics too. All right, what do we got? 20 minutes. Let's do some entertainment. This is a new Kelly Bosch doing a VO3 image to video test.
If you rearrange the letters in Wi-Fi, you get IFWI, which means they are watching.
If you hear a screaming noise, don't worry. That's just the soul of the internet escaping. Fun fact, I replaced my therapist with a toaster. It listens better. Plus, it makes snacks. This is Leonard. He was my best algorithm. Rest in power, you sly genius. I once dated a fax machine. Emotionally distant, but excellent at sending mixed messages.
Did the microwave just wink at me? Listen, I told her I wasn't ready for commitment.
I haven't blinked since 1994. My optometrist...
You're blinking right now.
...thinks I'm legally a reptile now. If the lab catches fire again, you know the drill. Blame the intern. We don't have one, but still.
And remember, kids, never trust a duck with a USB port. That's how they get you.
So Google's VO3 just got a...
And speaking of Google's VO3, gets a big upgrade. New Theoretically Media.
Big update. Image to video with audio. So yeah, say goodbye to those Yeti selfies.
I know no one's going to be generating videos of me anymore, but I hope we could still hang out.
Today, we'll take a look at it with some tips and tricks, see where it's really shining, where it's lacking, plus a pricing update. I've also got a look at a new AI video generator aimed squarely at professionals and, well, Hollywood. But what's funny is we've already looked at it, well, at least a much older version of it. So let's see where it is today. Kicking off, VO3's image to video with audio is here. Now, previous to this, we have had some options in terms of image to video on VO3, namely under frames to video, but that could really be hit or miss. That said, it is here now, so let's take a look at it with a quick piece I cribbed together.
The mission has been compromised. He knows we set him up. He'll be coming after us.
How could this happen? The plan was foolproof. Who messed up?
Just thought I'd cut in here, respectfully, sir. I'd say it was you plotting on an unsecured line.
Agent Jones? You hacked this line?
You didn't change your password like I told you to, did you?
Fluffy Bunny is a good password.
Let that serve as a quick reminder. It's probably time to change your passwords as well. But overall, I mean, pretty impressive. So that was actually 3 Midjourney images, all utilizing an SREF code, kind of calling that 90s film look. I do think it nailed it, although this is a good point to mention that we did get some VO3 pushback. Like, this was an image that I initially tried to use for our spy guy, and VO3 was like, nah, that's Tom Cruise. I know that's Tom Cruise. You know that's Tom Cruise. There was another one that I got that was pretty much a straight up Daniel Craig in VO3. Was like, again, like, no, I'm not going to do that. Celebrity likenesses and whatnot are not a huge issue to me. And well, the fact is that since it's not actually letting you generate, it's not like you're losing credits here. And they did fix the whole glitch with like refunding credits as well. So to use image to video, or as they like to call it, frames to video, you just simply come down to this menu here and then click frames to video. You will get options for first frame and last frame. Just click the plus button here and then either upload an image. You can generate your own image via, I guess, Imagen, but of course, it's more fun to upload your own images. The other surprising thing, and actually, I was pleasantly surprised, is that frames to video with audio works not only in like standard VO3, but it actually works in VO3 Fast as well. Fast, of course, being the cheaper version that only runs you 20 credits per generation, as opposed to VO3 Standard at 100 credits. For a quick look at what Fast versus, I guess, like regular VO3 looks like, this was an output that I generated in VO3. So this is just text to video in VO3 Fast.
A little something extra for your wrist, Bond, if you need to make a quick exit.
And if I don't?
Then you've simply got excellent taste in timepieces.
So for some fun, I took the first frame of that VO3 output and brought it over to Midjourney for a retexture to kind of give it a, like a more like classic 1960s Bond kind of look. So using that image alongside the exact same prompt in Flow got us this in Fast.
A little something extra for your wrist, Bond, if you need to make a quick exit.
And if I don't?
Then you've simply got excellent taste in timepieces.
And then next, rerunning it in quality.
A little something extra for your wrist, Bond, if you need to make a quick exit.
And if I don't?
Then you've simply got excellent taste in timepieces.
Overall, I mean, I really am finding that the differences between fast and quality are fairly negligible. So I do encourage you to use the fast mode. It's far cheaper. We'll talk about price more a little later. I do have news on that. It's not like the best news, but it is good news. Rolling back to Operation Fuzzy Bunny. So that was a total of 6 shots. Generations-wise, it was actually 22 shots, but I actually have to take some blame there, considering that I initially ended up actually miscasting in the beginning. So, for example, this was our CIA director guy initially. Now, while I did not end up utilizing bootleg Robert Redford in 3 Days of the Condor, great movie, by the way. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out.
Just thought I'd cut in here. Respectfully, sir, I'd say it was you, plotting on an unsecured line.
You will note that we do get some stray dialogue and, of course, the return of our garbled subtitles. But if we remove the exploration outputs, what we're left with is actually 12 generations. So 12 generations for 6 shots, that's not too bad. Now, one trick I did want to mention that will, save you some generations and thus some money is that with some planning, you can actually get a twofer out of an output. For example, with our section chief, I was able to essentially get, 2 lines out of 1 generation.
Agent Jones? You hacked this line? Fluffy Bunny is a good password.
Now, that might be obvious to some of you, but yeah, I mean, it works pretty well as long as you're kind of thinking in the context of you have 8 seconds. But again, the thing that really continues to impress me about VO3 is the overall character work. Take Flamethrower Girl here.
The question isn't why walk around with a flamethrower. It's why not walk around with a flamethrower.
I mean, she does raise a fairly valid point. But again, the thing with her voice cadence and performance is that all of that is a level above our standard text to voice to lip sync methods. Now, in terms of getting consistent voices, well, it does seem to actually work. Take, for example, our Orc Barbarian Queen here, a couple of generations here in which her voice remains the same.
For glory, for vengeance, for...
Is there gonna be snacks after?
For glory, for vengeance, for...
Is there gonna be snacks after?
Now, granted, our Orc voice does change, but he's also listed as Orc number 4 in the credits, so I'm not going to stress that one too much. Now, I've been using the prompt builder that I put together in a previous video on VO3. I did just update it. If you would like, you can download it or re-download it over on Gumroad. It is totally for free. Of course, if you would like to leave a donation, it is always appreciated. Now, there are instructions on dialogue in here, namely assign lines using physical descriptions, not character.
I don't know what the current character AI book talk drama is. It's Frizzle. If you want to Bring me up to speed.
Character names, e.g.
the sorry. What's the crack?
One with the blonde bun, her voice a crisp, commanding altogether, whatever it says from there. I do think that describing the character is the thing that keeps a consistent voice with the character across different locations. Now, I will say that there are still some spots that VO3 is, kind of on the underperforming side. For example, my beloved Kung Fu sequences.
Your anger is a weakness.
It's all I have.
Two quick notes, she is not making it very far in the Mortal Kombat tournament with that milquetoast left hook. The other thing is, dude, you're gonna punch him in the ear after? That's kind of messed up. That said, I do have to give props that the dialogue is all present, even though, the actual performance might be lacking some energy. Conversely, taking that same image and running it in Midjourney, we end up with this output, which admittedly, still not completely perfect, but definitely a lot more energy, though again, at the cost of not having any sound and at a much lower resolution. I guess all of which is to say,
kind of related to them as Frizzle, I watched a video, I can't remember where it was, I didn't save it. It was where actually, it was basically accusing modern writers of classic franchises of basically writing fanfic. Because when, for instance, George Lucas created Star Wars, he brought things in from outside, right? He totally gripped a whole bunch of different stuff. But it created the Star Wars that we all, most of us know, or all of us know and most of us love. But the new people who are writing Star Wars grew up watching Star Wars. So their references are the thing in and of itself. And it creates a kind of fanfic type environment as opposed to bringing things outside of Star Wars into Star Wars. And I thought that was an interesting take on the whole thing.
Nothing is perfect yet, but by utilizing a combination of tools, I think you can get pretty close. Rounding out on a pricing update, which does have some good news, mostly in that they now allow for pro subscribers, those of you who are on the $20 plan, to top off your credits. Previously, this was only available on the, $250 Ultra plan. But now, yes, you could kind of get away with having the $20 subscription and say, spending $50 for 5,000 credits, thus saving you some money, like $70 as opposed to $250. So along with the 1,000 monthly credits that you get with the plan, that would come out to about 300 fast generations per month, which look, at $70 a month, it's still expensive, but at least it's coming down a bit. Moving on, if you've been following the AI video space, you have probably heard a bit about Moon Valley. Well, they've just released their new video model and they're taking the approach of having a clean model. So there is no, copyrighted material in the training data.
And it's there's always that, not to get too far into what up, Crix? Not to get too far into the whole thing, which is basically unrelated to what we do here. But the difference between, what could be taken from the outside as abuse and what is fetish, right? The idea of because everything has to do with consent, right? If you get slapped to the face and there's no consent, that's abuse. But if you get slapped to the face and you're into that kind of thing and there's consent, then that's fetish. It's kink. So it's if someone's writing a story about the thing, where does that fall?
So how's it look? Well, we're about to see, but I did really quickly want to jump into the Wayback Machine to October of 2023 because, well, that's when I first covered Moon Valley. Just look at this guy. He has no idea of the tidal wave that's coming over the next 2 years. Back then, Moon Valley was Discord-based, as were a lot of the AI video generators. At the time, I noted that it had kind of a cool animated style, and I cribbed something up, so let's take a look at this. Again, this is the old Moon Valley. So again, that's October of 2023, all text to video. So let's take a look at it today. Again, all text to video. If anything, I'll say that serves as a really interesting look at, AI video over the last 2 years. Now, I do have to say that text to video in Moon Valley, at least currently, is probably its weakest aspect. Granted, it is launched.
There are a lot of artifacts. You can see dude's face here, right? You can obviously see the sign here. Not good at writing. Definitely a bunch of stuff that you would need to fix. Some weird artifacts back here. Not top of the line, but impressive growth.
Though, so, let's give them a hot minute. Obviously, being non-copyrighted data, things like an artist in a warehouse, obviously this stuff is going to do pretty well. And things like woman with a dark hair wearing a leather jacket in a hip coffee shop, this stuff looks great. Although, again, text to video, so sometimes you're just going to end up with some weird stuff, like our guy here on the phone who just decides to take a quick power squat, or maybe he just walked out of a Chipotle. Image to video also looks pretty.
Like if that was a rap video, you would have bought it, right? Like some Beastie Boys intergalactic type vibe.
Decent. This is a Fallout inspired image taken into Moon Valley. We end up with this. Now, this is a 5-second output. That's what Moon Valley is doing right now at 1080 though, and they are outputting at 16-bit as well. So this again goes back to that whole they're aiming for a professional usage. You know what? Scratch that 5-second thing. They apparently just launched shot extensions here, along with a number of other things that actually I did not have just a minute ago, like camera control from image, camera control from video, trajectory control, and shot extension. I do have a trajectory control running. We'll see how that looks or what that actually does. One thing that Moon Valley did impress me with is, taking a 16:9 image and then running it in ultra widescreen, and it'll sort of in-paint the rest of it out and generate up a video essentially in that aspect ratio. So it's pretty well done. One thing that really excites me about Moon Valley is its video-to-video features. For example, running one of my favorite tests, the Starship Troopers test. We've run this a few times on the channel, basically by taking a scene from the long lost and forgotten 1990s CGI television show, Starship Troopers Roughnecks.
It's not long lost and forgotten. You can watch it on Prime.
Let's take a look at the original.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part. They're doing their part. Are you? Join.
And this was Human Slop. No, it was a movie. Or was it a miniseries? Might have been a miniseries. But it wasn't like a TV show, Starship Troopers Roughneck. Yeah, it was like 6. Oh no, it actually got all the way to 10 episodes. Or 40 episodes? Did it really? Maybe it was a TV show. I thought it was just a friggin' mini-series. What am I thinking of? You might be able to find it all on here on Throwback Tunes. This is season 1, episode 20. But yeah, this was Human Slop, right? This CGI. We thought that this was great.
The Mobile Infantry.
And now here it is restylized with Moon Valley.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part. They're doing their part. Are you? Join. the mobile infantry.
We've run that test a number of times on the channel, and I think that is the best it's looked yet. Now, there are still some problems, like we're not getting accurate lip sync coming off, but again, it's like, you know, vintage CGI from 1999. That said, I do have something coming up later on this week that actually addresses that problem. The other kind of insane thing that Moon Valley has going when it comes to keyframes is that you can keyframe every frame up to 128 frames. I don't think I've seen that as of yet. So just as a test, and this is pretty janky, I ended up nabbing an image of a animation walk cycle, and then basically issuing the keyframes of 1, 26, 52, 78, 98, and 120, and then running this just to see what would happen. And again, while this is not perfect, and for sure I was pretty sloppy when it came to slicing each of those keyframes out, I mean, it kind of works. Going back to video, one of the things that really impressed me was an idea that I've been wanting to try out, namely utilizing Say Motion by Deep Motion. This is a platform where you can essentially generate, you choose a character, you generate motion via a prompt. A man is throwing punches, for example, here, and then you can actually export this as an MP4. So we ended up with this as a video source and then bringing this into Moon Valley and issuing a text prompt. This is actually what ended up coming out. And that's actually super cool. When we talk about ultimate control of character and camera, I mean, this is probably the direction that at least one branch of the Gen AI filmmaking tree is going to head off into. Now, again, I still haven't gotten the chance to fully play around with everything here. And again,
it's amazing. I am going to have to cut this just a little bit short. We got most of it because it's about that time. Stick around for the raid, even if you have someplace else you want to be. All right. I will be back tomorrow morning. We'll do another 9 o'clock episode here on Gilligan's Isle. I jumped early. And he ain't ready. He ain't heavy. He's my streamer. What up, Digital? If you've been hanging out, you enjoy the content, you enjoy the vibes. You should hit that follow button. Remember, I'm going to try to cram in as many streams as I can this week because next week, Sunday, starts the new job, new schedule, and then we'll go from there. I appreciate you all. Thank you for hanging out with me. And in the meantime, drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you forgot, and always remember that Shaggy loves you. So do I. Be great. What up, Doc?